1. For some context, I work at a coffee shop. It's a special place where kinksters and fetishes can get together to hang out, in a casual environment to drink coffee and practice their rope tying. I'm also a cosplayer, one of my better-known costumes being Ramona Flowers. I have a boyfriend, we're in an open relationship. He comes into the cafe I work at quite often as well. A few months ago, a guy comes in who was kinda cute, though not quite my usual type. He was wearing a Doctor Who shirt though. So I started talking to him about it since I love Doctor Who. I also noticed he was wearing a cladder ring, a traditional Irish piece of jewellery and symbolism, and asked if he was Irish, since I am and often wear one. He seemed like a cool dude and he came in pretty often, so we got to know each other well enough to add each other on Facebook and whatnot. This is where it gets cringy. He sent me a message this morning asking if my boss would let him film in the cafe before it opens sometime, he's a film student, and asking if I'd want to be in it since there's a character in it that has a Ramona Flowers bag like yours. Okay, sure, send me the script and I'll see what I think. And the script is our first encounter, down to a T. Guy sitting in a cafe wearing a Doctor Who shirt. Girl comes in with a Ramona Flowers bag. They get to talking about Doctor Who. He asks her about her cladda. At this point, in the reading, my eyes are starting to pop out of my skull. It gets worse though, when the character mentions that she has a boyfriend, and the male character says he's disappointed, and that they're having a, and I quote, "meet cute." It's a scene in a movie where two characters who are destined to fall in love meet for the first time. Oh god, what? Oh god. I wasn't even really sure where to start with this. At first it was just kind of funny. As I was reading I thought, oh, that's just like our Oh. The script itself was cute, decently written, sure. But I'm not sure what part of his brain thought it would be a good idea to ask me to play myself in some creepy dream version of his life. I'm not even an actor. 2. A little background. When I was 16 or 17 years old, I was dating an older boy, 19 or 20, who lived an hour away from me in the next largest city. He had family in my town and visited often, so it didn't feel like a long-distance thing. On top of that, I was a resourceful kid who saved her money, and then utilized it buying Greyhound bus tickets and sneaking away for the weekend to see him. I was stupid. So all of these stories take place during those times, which spanned about a year. I learned a lot about the Greyhound universe in the process. Greyhound bus story number 1. The stripper's happy family. This one isn't terribly scary, but kind of weird and funny. While waiting for the bus to come in the lobby of the Greyhound building, I was approached by a very smiley and bouncy blonde woman. She was constantly smiling and very friendly. She says hello, asks if I'm waiting for the same bus she is, which I am. She welcomes herself to sit with me and begins rambling on about her life and what she's doing there. At first I was kind of playing polite, but not paying that much attention, until I started to notice how interesting her story actually was. Apparently she was a stripper in Los Angeles, and she got fired because the bouncer and her fell in love and refused to break up to keep their jobs. She, still smiling constantly, points her boyfriend out to me. He's the hulking, glaring black man standing next to her luggage across the way. I'm like, okay? Not really sure what I'm supposed to even say, just nodding and trying to be polite. Then things got fun. She asks me if I have any change, and that we can pull our change together to buy a small pizza to split, since the bus is going to be a while. This actually sounded like a good idea to me. I was hungry, and paying some change for several slices of pizza sounded pretty awesome. So I give her my coins and she goes off to get the pizza. When she returns, she has her boyfriend with her, although he kept one eye on their luggage the entire time. She also seems to have produced a large family photo album. As we all start to eat, she begins flipping through it and telling me about the photos. This is not a normal family photo album. The first is a picture of her and the bouncer boyfriend in full strip club uniform. She's holding a wad of bills in her teeth and grinning like crazy. I'm like, okay. Then she shows me a picture of her and another girl doing a show at the club, both of them dancing on the pole. The next one was still them, but rolling around on the dance floor together making out. The next one was more graphic and included the bouncer. She's telling me how this girl was like her sister, and how much she loved her. Also, can I tell she's 5 months pregnant in this other picture? The whole time I'm keeping a neutral face, but on the inside I'm just tripping out over this couple. The rest of the night wasn't terribly eventful. The bus came, we all got on, we left. Then I got off at my step. However, the woman yelled out to me from her seat, "May all of your dreams come true, sweetheart!" And I couldn't help shouting, "You too," on my way out. Overall review, nice couple, graphic family, whatever. At least they weren't trying to rape and kill me. Greyhound bus story number 2, Touchy McTutcherson. The usual get on the bus, wait to get off the bus. This time the bus was very crowded, but I managed to get a seat to myself. At least until the bus pulled into a small stop along the way, and 5 more people got on. Unlike most creeper stories, this guy didn't single me out in an empty bus. There really were no other seats but mine. So while I'm not super happy, I'm not really alert either. I took my usual I don't want to interact stance, leaned against the window with my Walkman in hand. The guy didn't really say or do anything. He was wearing a large worn hoodie, I remember, and his face didn't have anything about it that was particularly memorable. Long story short, he wasn't acting creepy, and I let my guard down and dozed off. I think I only slept for 15 minutes or so. The bus going over a bump woke me up, and this guy's hand was wrapped around my upper leg, working its way up. I shot up in a panic, shoved the guy's arm back and glared. I've no idea why I didn't yell or alert others, but I didn't. The guy seemed to have been spooked by my sudden hostility, and put his head back down. Then he started slowly scooting over. He did it very slow, to where it took me a second to realize I was getting increasingly more pinned into the window as I moved over to avoid him. Before long, his hand started working its way back over, lightly brushing my leg with his finger. It's around this time I realize I'm going to have to actually do something, which terrified me even more. I started scanning the crowd around me, trying to see if anybody nearby sees what is happening or could help me. Everyone is facing forward, oblivious except for one girl. She was sitting 1 seat back, and across from me, and was watching everything. We made eye contact, and I tried my best at making the teenager wide-eyed, "Help me" face. Just then, the bus pulled into another stop, and a few people got out, including 2 people near us leaving a fully empty seat. The man's hand started to close around my leg and squeeze, like he knew I was thinking of getting up and bolting. Just then, the girl from behind me pops right up behind the guy and says loudly, "Oh my god, finally I can sit with my friend." What kind of crappy bus system is this? We haven't been able to sit together since we first left. Come on, girl. As she grabs my arms and actually jerks me pretty hard, past the guy and into the empty seat with her. I thanked her. She said it was cool. And like awkward teens, we then proceed to ignore each other and listen to CDs. The guy got off at a time before my stop, for which I was entirely grateful. Greyhound bus story number 3. Don't judge a book by its cover. Fun fact, on Saturday mornings, convicts recently released from nearby prison would all get on the Greyhound to be taken to wherever they were going. I usually took the bus on Fridays, so I usually didn't have to experience this. Then came the time I needed to take the bus Saturday morning. I don't even remember why. I had some school responsibility to take care of Friday night that threw me off. I remember stepping onto the bus, and my first thought was, shit, it's crowded. Followed quickly by the realization that all of the passengers were men, most still in those plain grey jumpsuits. I'm a 16-year-old girl. Fuck! There's only 1 seat left, and it's next to the most terrifying man I had ever seen at that age. He was huge, basketball biceps huge, and has a full face tattoo of a skull. I remember sitting down with a feeling of absolute dread. The man turns and starts to talk to me. It was hard to understand him at first. He had a very thick Mexican accent, but after a moment I realized he was asking me if I thought it was going to stay sunny all weekend. I squeaked out a maybe, still completely unsure and kinda terrified. Then it happened. He smiled real big with all of his teeth showing, and it wasn't creepy at all. Under all that ink that made his face horrifying was a genuinely happy, almost blissful man. I remember his eyes were big and blue and just happy. As I started to relax a bit, he starts to tell me how good the sun feels, and seeing the trees of the orange orchards, how he feels alive. Then he introduces me to the men sitting around us. They're all very nice and polite. They ask me about school, tell me to be careful riding the Greyhound, and that I seem to be a good kid. We even played fucking cards. I left the bus that day with 5 more friends, smiling and laughing together. Go fucking figure. 3. It's 3 a.m. on a weeknight and I'm driving home from a 15-hour shift. My mind is pretty much asleep from exhaustion, and my critical thinking skills have all but abandoned me for the night. Luckily, I only lived about 10 minutes from work at the time. Quick history, about 3 months before this, I had a suspended license due to a legal dispute I was fighting. Being a 19-year-old faux rebel, I continued driving anyways. Of course, the law caught up with me. I had driven home without my headlights on one night and was cited, etc. Pan back to 3 a.m. and I'm crossing an overpass towards my apartment. My car windows are down since I'm smoking a cig, and the only sounds are the rare passing cars. Suddenly, I hear a voice shout, "Hey, lights!" I look out the window and I pass by a woman carrying some bags, waving her arm at me and yelling out. I finally notice that it has seemed a bit dark on the road. My lights had been off. I flip them on and curse at myself for being such a fool, though in reality this was only the beginning of my foolishness that night. I think to myself, wow, this woman just saved me from a ticket. A red light sits at the end of the overpass, and I see that she is walking in the direction I am headed. Why not return the favor? She saved me around $100 I can save her time off her journey. Now I lived in an iffy neighborhood. Even though it was right down the street from the college campus, it still wasn't the kind of area to be making friends with random people at 3 a.m. I looked at the woman from my car and made a quick assessment. Her clothes seemed clean, she seemed near my age, and the bags were Kroger brand. Any other time I would have still just gone home, but my mind was set on helping this person who just helped me, even if she was homeless, which I doubted from my assessment. I had experience with such hitchhikers. I kept a serrated blade in my car in case anyone I helped became unruly, which has happened twice before, always ending with a hinted flash of steel, and the asshole quickly retreating from my car. My hazy mind made itself up as I pulled a U-turn and headed back over the overpass. The woman stopped walking and looked up at me as I pulled up. She was extremely cautious as I stopped, which made me feel better since I figured a prostitute or thief would be much more relaxed. The streets are pretty much empty besides me and this woman. "Thank you," I smiled at her. "You saved me from a ticket. I've already got enough money problems as it is. I was just on my way home from work. I could give you a ride if you're headed somewhere in that area." She walked up to the car with bags in hand. As she got closer, I can tell she's a bit older than I thought. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Her bags are indeed filled with groceries. It still hasn't clicked that no sane woman would be walking with groceries at 3 a.m. She smiled with lips closed and looked through the open passenger window at me. "You sure? I live right around this corner, but I wanted to make a stop somewhere first." At those words, my brain would normally be screaming hell no. But instead I tell her it's no problem, after how she helped me, and she tosses her bags in the back before getting in. Her voice has a bit of a southern influence. Her hair is a little dirty, but only if she hasn't showered in a few days, no worse. She tells me how she lives in an apartment that I knew of not far from where I stopped. She tells me that she wanted to make a stop though, as one of her friends had gotten something for her, and she was afraid her friend's boyfriend would steal it if she didn't get it tonight. More signs of this shit is fucked up, but my brain was already half asleep. She says she needs some money, so we stop at a nearby gas station. Shit, I thought I had more money than this. She eyes my wallet with a quick glance as I pay the cashier for a drink. I don't have much, thankfully, otherwise this story could have ended much worse. Do you think you could spare like $10? $10 is a lot less than 100, so I hand her some cash, and we get back out onto the road. Most of our talking is limited to directions, but she asks if I go to the college or work. Small talk, nothing personal or deep. That's when I start to notice where she's leading me, the bad part of the neighborhood. Trash is littered everywhere, shady characters are shuffling around, and it's only getting worse the more I drive. We reach her destination where two very intimidating black men are standing outside a liquor store. She gets out and asks me to turn around in an alleyway, and she would be back. Shit, I fucked up. My exhausted mind had finally realized this wasn't a smart idea. But instead of just bailing, I decided not to abandon her. I wouldn't have found this a good reason to risk my life if I had been of sound mind. I pull into the narrow alleyway and turn around in a small spot. I drive just enough to the edge so that I'm visible from the main street. The two men standing at the door glance at me, and I reach beside my seat to find my knife, gripping it tightly, as though it was some sort of reassurance that I was gonna be fine. If I had been attacked, that knife was not saving me. The biggest of the two comes up to my window and peers around my car. I keep my coolest composure possible. He tilts his head up, and I do the same. He asks if I'm here with the woman, and I nod once before he simply backs away. At that moment, the woman runs out and hops back into the car. She's smiling and says everything is good. I could not be happier to get the hell out of there. She ruffles through her purse and asks excitedly if she can smoke in my car. I ask if she means cigarettes, and she smirks at me, saying she has something better. My mind jumps to weed, and without asking if it was, I tell her, sure. This is where, exhausted or not, my mind finally noticed that I'd done fucked up. The woman pulls a small bag from her purse and a clear pipe. The contents of the bag are not green, in fact they look completely unfamiliar to me, until she pulls something out. Crack. Fuck, I picked up a fucking crackhead. I am so fucking dead. She is going to kill me, steal my car, money, identity, and then sell my organs for drugs. My mind is racing so far that I don't even notice that she has been holding the pipe near my face for a moment or so now. Hey baby, you gonna hit this or what? I snap my focus to her and my stomach turns a little. I see her teeth for the first time. Yellow as the sun and brown as dirt. I try to think quickly, but my brain hasn't been functioning enough to stop all this from happening, let alone get me out of it. I've done crazy shit before, but this was too much. If I deny her, will she get upset and attack me? I don't want to smoke crack. My hand finds its way to my knife handle. Am I going to have to murder her? What do I do? I look at her for a minute, then shake my head, keeping as cool and calm as I'd been all night, even though I was literally freaking out on the inside. No thanks. Drinking and smoking cigs are enough vices for me. She laughed. It takes me by surprise as she hugs her shoulders. We all got vices, she says before taking another hit. I know how it is, baby. I exhale a huge breath of relief. This may turn out okay, I think to myself. As we drive, keeping my hand on my knife, and the woman firmly focused on her drugs, the road is empty. We get out of the bad area without problems, and I feel like I'm home. Ugh. A moan comes from my passenger, one that would have made my hormones jump if it were from anyone else, but instead sends a sharp pang of terror through me. I look out of my peripheral vision to see the woman with her head tilted back, blowing another hit, and moaning as she exhales. Shit. She smirks, eyes closed and feet stretched out as far as possible. He gave me them wicked rocks. What? I ask, letting my fear come through more than I would have liked. Wicked? Were they laced? Was she going to OD in my car? Alright, you don't go for rocks. She opens her eyes coyly at me. Is that good? She says matter-of-factly, like I'm supposed to get it from that. She moans a little again. Them horny rocks. Her free hand slides down her jeans, and she hits her pipe again, with the other moving in an obvious way. Oh yeah, I reply. Really, I'm thinking, oh hell no. This is not happening. Hey, since you don't go for this, how about we go pick up some 40s? Nope. Maybe an ounce? Nope. Go back to your place? Nope. Have a little fun? Oh, fuck no! Actually I'm a bit broke. I didn't get paid when I should have, you know? Maybe she would be disinterested if I don't have money, but instead she just frowns, her hand still at it. Oh, that's okay, baby. You've done a lot for me. I just want to pay you back. It's okay. I told you this was for helping me out. Besides, I just got off work. I'm ready to crash. I may have been a hormonal 19-year-old, but I was not that hormonal. Luckily, I saw her complex come into view, and so did she. She pouted and stopped her little playtime as I pulled up and stopped at the entrance. She packed her items away in her purse and got out, grabbing her bags from the back. She looked back through the passenger window. You sure, though? I could just come back to your place and rape you a bit. I sped off without a second thought, leaving her there in the lot. Through the streets and up the hills, screeching into my parking lot, and making a mad dash for the complex. I slammed and locked the door, turning with my back to it, letting out a breath I had been holding since first escaping. What may have been the most ignorant and creepiest night of my life. I was so exhausted. I slid down onto the ground and fell asleep right there at the door. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 233. Big thanks to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Especially to those good folks who were kinda confused to get messages from me, wondering what the hell I was talking about, because many of the stories were in fact posted years ago, and people kinda forgot they'd even posted them. So thank you so much to all of you. You know, it's those of you who are new will be confused by what I'm about to say, but those of you who have listened before will understand it's just par for the course. But as I mentioned the other day, I was looking into cold brew coffee, and I haven't bought the stuff yet. I kept looking at reviews and things. I can't settle on a grinder. I was looking at a nice little manual one, but I thought to myself, you know, I really like the idea of manually grinding the coffee beans, but I will get bored with that within about a week. So I'm now looking at electric burr grinders that'll give me a decent grind. Yeah, I mean, I found one that looks not bad. It's a bit more than I wanted to pay for it, but I expect once I buy it for making the cold brew, I'll probably actually end up doing proper coffee as well. There's like a French press kind of thing. They're not really that expensive, the French presses. Anyway. Yeah, I was in both of my local supermarkets. There's only 2 in my local town, and I was looking for coffee beans the other day, and it's shockingly hard to get a decent selection of coffee beans. I mean, they have them if you kind of, you know, you look, but it's mostly those pre-ground ones meant for filters and things. So I'm probably going to have to order them off Amazon as well, or find somewhere else that sells them for a more reasonable price. because I don't really have a lot of specialty places in my local town. I'd have to go into one of the cities to get those, and I'm just rambling at this point, aren't I? Okay, I'm going to shut up now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.